Hey guys, Brian here. I just wanted to go through a little bit of the Ektachrome LUT and look through a couple different variety of footage just so you can know what to expect. I also wanted to go through the PowerGrade that we included. I know not everyone's a colorist out there and sometimes you just need something that's kind of laid out for you. And of course you could always make your own node tree, but this is just a very simple way to get the process going that walks you through step by step on just getting a good image kind of right out of the gate. So a lot of these colors will be very simple, but I just wanted to show how flexible this LUT is and how great it can look. So just to start things off, Ektachrome 100 is a color reversal film stock, meaning it's a positive film stock meant for projection. That being said, it is a very high contrast, high saturation, and low dynamic range. You can honestly expect like measured 5 to 6 stops of dynamic range, which is actually lower than a lot of digital cameras. The great part about using this LUT is that it's non-destructive, meaning you have full information even after using the LUT. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get this high contrast, high saturated look, while also being able to retain the dynamic range of your camera. When we apply this LUT, it might look pretty dark and crushed, and I'll show you kind of how you can bring it up and how you can recover that information back. So as long as your original footage isn't clipped, you should still be pretty good because this LUT is designed to be around the native ISO of 800. With Blackmagic, it's 400. This means that you can use the Ektachrome LUT and get the Ektachrome look without having to light at 100 ISO. Let's just get started. Great, so we're straight into DaVinci Resolve. Here's my timeline. There's a couple shots that I shot, and this was actually before I designed this Ektachrome LUT. And then there's some footage from ArtGrid that I didn't shoot with a variety of different cameras. So we have Alexa Mini, we have Blackmagic in here, we have a shot from the Venice, we have a red Komodo, we have Alexa 35. So I can just show you how this LUT performs across different sensors and across a bunch of different lighting scenarios. So we're gonna go ahead into the color page and there is no node tree, right? So I'm going to import the Filmatic PowerGrade that we include with each LUT. And this really just gives you the whole entire structure of everything that you would need to get started. By default, the film emulation sort of spatial characteristics such as softness, halation, and grain are disabled. And these are just using the built-in grain halation plugins in DaVinci Resolve. So if you have Studio, you don't need to purchase any additional plugins. To me, honestly, these look pretty good right out of the gate. You're welcome to use your own plugins and replace it. So this is where the LUT would go on node 14. But what we're just gonna do is we're gonna drop in our Alexa Mini. We're gonna use the 65 cubed resolution, just because that's the highest quality version. And we're just gonna drag and drop it in there. It's pretty contrasty because this is actually how contrasty Ektachrome stock is based on the data, right? These LUTs are non-destructive, so what we can do is we can just go into our offset, which you can kind of think of as ISO or gain. So we're gonna go in our offset, in our primary wheel, and just bring it up. And this is really just gain kind of across the board. So the way I like to adjust sort of these levels is a little bit of offset, and also the lift, which affects the lower tones and kind of the shadow. So you could see on the waveform about this 40 to 10 ARRI range, and that's kind of where you lose the most information just because of how contrasty this Kodak Ektachrome film stock is. So we're just gonna bring back the lift and bring back a little more detail. So since shooting the last video, we actually added a low contrast version of the Ektachrome 100 LUT. This version builds in some of the offset and lift within the LUT so you can use it a little bit more readily. So try that version if you want to cut down on a few steps and it can be more readily used with a camera or monitor. We can go through and then we can look at the highlights right here. So we're just going to bring the highlights down right here and we have full information still here. So if you look at the waveform, it might look like it's clipped right at about this 95 ARRI range. Since these LUTs are non-destructive, you still have all that information that you can work with. This is log C, no other corrections, maybe a little bit of gain, but then we're gonna apply the LUT and it's, I mean, I really like it. The reds are very saturated. It's known to have deep blues and deep reds to get very vibrant skin tones. Yeah, this was shot at magic hour, so the light is pretty warm, and I'd say this is a pretty nice look already. White balance tint, maybe we can make it a little bit cooler. Maybe we could warm it up even more, and let's like really lean to this golden hour look. And then, I don't know, maybe that red's a little too much, so we can add a little bit of green, just like 2 points. I'm kind of just doing this on the fly, you know. Add our halation, which we get nice glow. If you look at the hair, get that nice edge. It kind of highlights the skin as well. And then add, you know, this grain. So by default, the grain's at about 50%, but if you want more apparent grain, obviously you could dial this up. Something more apparent, you could increase the grain size if you really want to go crazy. And of course, you are welcome to use your own grain plugin, but this is just something to get you started. So yeah, this is the LUT just straight out of the gate with nothing else. I mean, again, maybe we could adjust our contrast. Maybe we want to lift the black levels a little bit because it's a little too dark or too contrasty. So you can adjust that. Saturation, maybe we want to increase saturation. So this node tree is laid out to be the most optimal mathematically. Each of these nodes is a math operation, and in math, you know, order of operations matter. And at the very end of the tree, we have this adjust node, and this is after the LUT. And you could see how when you adjust the gain, it's really affecting the highest of the high points, right? So this is after the LUT. And if we try to do that same gain adjustment before the LUT, you could see where it gets clamped. Because Ektachrome, when we captured the data, it really kind of cuts off at about this 90 to 95 IRE range. So if you did want to adjust the full range of this waveform or full range of the image, you can increase your gain to, you know, to about 100 or more if you really want to hit that highest of the high white point. Or you could bring the shadow to, you know, as close to 0 as you want right there. You want to be very careful at how you use it because this would be a destructive correction because it's happening after the node. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, if we want to compare this to just the standard Rec 709, we'll move on to another shot. Different time of day. This is earlier in the day. It should be a little bit cooler in terms of the color temperature. And again, we're just going to apply our PowerGrade that's included. We are going to add the LUT right here. So this is Alexa Mini because this was shot on the Alexa Mini. Yeah, I mean, the skin tones look beautiful on her. We'll bring the offset up a little bit. This is kind of the first adjustment I like to make. And then we'll bring the lift just a little bit, just to bring back some of that shadow detail. You could see now it's clipping a little bit of the highlights, bring highlights back. And, you know, we have all detail right there. But I guess if you want to be true to an Ektachrome look, you would let the highlights kind of blow out because if you measure the actual dynamic range of it, it's like 4 stops over or something. You know, this is kind of a hybrid and we get the best of both worlds using a digital film emulation. Maybe we want this a little bit warmer and we'll adjust that. Maybe we'll add a little bit of green into it. I mean, her skin tone is glowing. And oh yeah, we'll add halation. The halation plugin does add a little bit of red, so it kind of increases the red even more. And maybe we don't like this much red in the skin tone, so this is what the HSL is. This is meant for the hue, saturation, and luminance. A hue versus saturation here, just, you know, bring it down a little bit. Obviously that's way too much, but you know, this is meant to be kind of a finer adjustment. So this is before, and now this is after. So these are just very simple corrections that you can do that this node tree kind of lays out for you. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. This is already, to me, a pretty good look for how quickly we kind of just put this together. You can always add color correction on top of this, right? And I'm not using a color wheel, so I'm just doing all this by mouse and keyboard to show you that you don't need a lot to get a good look. Let's move on to this shot. So this was shot, I believe, on the Alexa 35. I didn't shoot it. This was from ArtGrid. I have no awareness of how they shot it, how they rated it, you know, any of that. I just know it was shot on the Alexa 35. So each LUT is designed specifically for each camera sensor and their native ISO. So I know the native ISO of the Alexa 35 is 800. So we'll apply this, our LUT. Right here, we are going to do the Alexa 35, 65 cubed. I mean, this looks pretty great, honestly. It's very vibrant, very red. Like I said, that Ektachrome really has this red response if you actually look at the sensitometry graphs. And let's add halation, and we'll add the softness and grain. And if we compare this to the standard 709 of the Alexa 35. So again, you can see how rich this really is. The red response is so strong, and I think it's a lot more strong than people realize. But that's exactly what we could dial down. So in our HSL, let's just select kind of in this, you know, that you have this big spike of red right here, and maybe we'll just kind of dial it down just a little bit so it doesn't feel so intense, right? So it just kind of takes that edge off because it might feel a little digital for some people. And I haven't touched any other color grade at all. There's nothing else on any of these nodes except for this one single HSL. Let's add a little bit more interest in this. So let's make her skin warmer, add more green to the background, right? So just like more interesting sort of, maybe like a Hong Kong cinema vibe, like Wong Kar-wai will add a lot of green to it and a lot of warmth in the skin tones. But there's something in this image that I don't really like, and it's actually this purple violet color. And this is what we could do in the HSL, where hue versus hue. So we're gonna select this, and maybe instead of as purple, we're just gonna add green to it to make it a little more interesting, kind of go along with the vibe that we're getting here. If you look at that in the top left now, obviously that's very extreme, but you really just want to make this very subtle to add a little green to that. So this is before and after. I mean, this is definitely a vibe. It's a little too green for me, but we'll bring it down a little bit more. I mean, maybe we could bring up exposure just a little bit. We'll bring up the offset in our primary, and then we'll bring a little bit of the lift up. Too much. So moving on, this was shot on, I believe, a red Komodo. Yeah, R3D. Red Komodo, we will do the same exact thing. We'll use our PowerGrade node again, drop on in the Filmatic node 14, Ektachrome 800, and this has a nice punchy look to it. Let's make this like very filmic. Let's make this like crank up the grain a bit, give it more texture, even though Ektachrome is actually very fine grained. Halation adds a nice little glow overall, and we'll add softness just to help kind of cut this digital edge down. You can see her eye in it. It's very subtle, but if you look at it, it's only 2 points of softness. I think her skin is a little bit clipped, a little too spicy for me. So again, before the node, we have full control of that information. And then maybe with our adjust, we'll kind of stretch out the tones of this whole image again, which affects globally the image. And primaries, again, we'll just bring up the lift just a little bit. Saturation feels a little high. Yeah, maybe we'll make it a little more subtle, like 40 saturation is pretty good. Why don't we make the greens pop a little bit more? So there's kind of this, the hue of the green, maybe we'll make it more actual green. So we'll click that, and you can see it goes right on the spike here, and then we'll just bring it down. And while this LUT is a pretty strong look, honestly, it's still very flexible to whatever you want to do to this image. This is a shot in some of the demos. This was actually shot in a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, I believe. So you may have seen on the website, this is one of the shots that I use, and I like it because it's kind of indicative of an Ektachrome look, because it was used a lot in studios for fashion and kind of high key sort of lighting. And this shot gives me that vibe. So again, I don't know how the person who filmed this shot it. I don't know their settings. So we're just working with what we have. I applied the node tree, and then I'm gonna apply the LUT, which is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. And wow, it is very warm. So he must have had a pretty intense white balance offset or something. I'm not sure. We're gonna just adjust the white balance first. And when we bring it back, it really makes the skin tones really have this nice complex color with these blues and the richness of the orange as well. It is a little bit spicy, which again, we'll just adjust the primaries. Maybe we'll bring the overall gain down, and it is kind of contrasty. So we'll bring back some of that lift, which is the darkest parts of our image. And then maybe we'll bring down a touch of little highlight, kind of like a little bit of that specularity on her cheek. So we'll kind of park it there. Maybe I'll actually make it a little bit warmer. This is a little too much. All we touched again was temperature only. We didn't touch anything else. And I do actually like these colors a lot straight out of the gate. We can tweak the contrast here. You know, if we want to soften this because it might be a little bit high key for a lot of people, bring the halation back, which adds a nice glow. Add some grain. Maybe we'll make this a little stronger just for fun. I mean, this red channel is pretty strong, so hue versus saturation, maybe we can find somewhere here. I mean, I'm being very aggressive with this just because I'm kind of doing it quickly. Let's add a little green to her, and we'll add a little warmth. And again, without knowing any information on this shot, how it was taken, the settings, you know, it has this very high-key fashion look, which I think is pretty cool for this particular shot. So we're gonna look at this shot now, and it is the same model. So I believe this was obviously from the same camera. So a Blackmagic, we're gonna apply that. We're gonna apply this LUT, And wow, this is actually pretty underexposed. I assume he kind of underexposed it overall, but we can, you know, we could bring up the offset and then we could bring up the lift and we have all our information back. The highlights I'll bring down in the background and the windows. We're just gonna bring this down and see what information we have. Okay, great. Yeah, we have a little bit of highlight information. So we're gonna pull that all the way down. We're gonna go to our adjust node and bring it up on the waveform. And then let's adjust the contrast. And then let's bring up the gain. And maybe a little bit more gamma and just a little bit more lift. I didn't touch any color settings. I only increased lift, gamma, gain. So this is the full color of just the LUT. Oh, we didn't even add, let's add our halation. So it adds a nice glow to it. We'll add grain and then we'll add some softness. Moving on, there is another shot. I think this was shot on an Alexa as well. So we're gonna apply that. And then we're gonna bring our lift way up. See, we have all this information still if we look at the waveform. Yeah, and we'll add the halation back, we'll add grain. I mean, it's pretty underexposed. Why don't we add noise reduction on this one? So we'll add noise reduction so there's a bit of chroma noise when we increase the exposure, obviously. We'll just add a little bit better, luma, maybe. I don't know, it's kind of whatever. There you go. We didn't touch any other color adjustments. You can obviously add whatever you want. So let's go warm and magenta. Oh no, that kind of actually looks cool. Maybe we'll adjust the contrast a little bit. Okay, you could see kind of our black levels lifted. So in this very last node, this adjust, we'll kind of use the shadow and just bring down just the darkest part of it, just right above 0. Again, you could take this any number of ways. I'm just showing you how you can use this LUT as a starting off point and then add your own creativity on top of it. So now last is, this is just broad daylight, middle of the afternoon. I believe this was shot on a Venice 2. Not optimal lighting, honestly. I would avoid shooting at this time of day typically. This is, we'll use the Venice 2 footage. So LUT, Venice 2. Okay. Yeah, pretty bright exposure, which is expected. It's, like I said, very high contrast film stock. Given we have all the information still here, as long as it's exposed properly, we'll bring down the gain this time. And we have all that information back. Let's actually increase contrast here. I mean, these are some very natural tones in daylight as you would expect. Yeah, it's a little bit out of focus. That's beside the point. We'll add halation back, we'll add some grain, we'll add the soft back just for fun. So in conclusion, I hope you guys enjoyed this LUT and I hope you find that you get pretty cool results out of it. Like I've been saying, Ektachrome is known to be high contrast, high saturation, low dynamic range. So expect that you might need to bring up the lift or the shadows a little bit more, but that's actually how the response of Ektachrome 100 is based on all of our data that we've shot. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think.